Hello, my friend, and welcome to Pro Wrestling Daily. My name is Aaron Machbitz. It's rumored that Chris Jericho might be leaving AEW, and the big question is, will he return to WWE? Because Chris Jericho leaving AEW is a huge rumor. His last 2 years on AEW TV was horrible. It was deplorable. It was embarrassing. I mean, it downright brought their TV down and made the brand wildly uncool. As a performer, he came very close to ruining some of his amazing legacy. I mean, Chris Jericho is one of the best to ever do it. He is not going to go out that way. He can't go out that way. And I do think he ends up back in WWE. And I think we could see it as soon as the Rumble in January. He was the first face of AEW, the first world champion, sort of an honorary founding father of the company, and the man who set the foundation for what you see in AEW today. I'm sure, people will spin it as this sort of betrayal, but his contributions should be celebrated in AEW and in sort of professional wrestling as a whole. Chris Jericho is one of the best to ever do it. Yes, his last couple years, again, were horrible, were embarrassing, were really bad, and almost tarnished his entire legacy. But I always do wonder what type of precedent it does set for WWE, because this would be like a huge PR win, and they're just salivating. WWE salivates already, like looking at AEW's first ever champion and the cornerstone comes back home to WWE. Even we can get that. For the fans, if he leaves, the optics to the locker room and maybe to the fans are like, even the guy who helped build AEW doesn't even believe in AEW's long-term future. Maybe that's what the optics might be, right? Maybe Tony Khan will ultimately be in his feelings, and he will sort of disregard everything and act like, Jericho maybe stabbing them in the back, because sort of that's what Tony Khan does. He lives on social media. He knows what's happening and sees it and hears everything. He's got to embrace it. Tell him it's over. Thank him for his, contributions and move on. I'd even go a step further and publicly acknowledge it, break the mold. AEW fans will never handle it well, and if Tony takes a respectful role in this, the fan base might take it better. Take the money you allotted Jericho and maybe hire a writing team or hire someone else to improve the product, because Jericho hasn't improved AEW's product in the last 2 years. He did at the beginning. He gave them star power. He was one of their founding fathers. He was their initial champion, but not anymore. He's not making AEW better anymore. And again, his last 2 years have been really bad television. So again, take the money that maybe Tony Khan allotted for Jericho and hire someone else, hire something else, hire writers, hire storytellers, hire something that's going to improve the AEW product, and not have Tony Khan focus on whether he stabbed them in the back or his feelings or this or that. You got to force the optics and make AEW fans view it in a certain light, because again, WWE is going to salivate over the fact that a former AEW champion doesn't even believe, quote unquote, in the long-term future of AEW, and they're coming back home. And Chris Jericho should go back to WWE, right? As far as Jericho in WWE, it's a part-timer only. Only when needed is Jericho, right? He could potentially have feuds with, Punk or Cody or Sammy or Kevin Owens or Randy Orton, right? Seth Rollins. All those could be very good. It could be very good. He could completely reinvent himself again. We know Jericho is very good at that. And he could have fun again. And he could feel cool again, like we know Jericho can be and has done throughout the 95% of his career, right? Probably his podcast, Talk is Jericho, will be a part of the Fanatics podcast family. WWE gets more content for their networks of his career. The Vault gets classic Jericho matches, and he gets a retirement run to end his career at WrestleMania, which is really important because Jericho is a WWE guy through and through. I mean, again, he beat Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock in one night. I don't want the last couple years of Jericho's professional wrestling career in AEW to tarnish his legacy, which it almost did because it was that bad. But Jericho probably will return to WWE. He's leaving AEW. He's returning to WWE. Have one last run, maybe return at the Rumble in January, have his last match at WrestleMania, join the Fanatics podcast family, and then we can sort of give Jericho his flowers while he's still here, because mostly we do that when wrestlers pass away or they get put in the Hall of Fame. But Jericho is literally a living legend, has done everything you can possibly think about in this business, and deserves our praise, deserves his recognition, and deserves his flowers. And that's what I think about potentially Chris Jericho leaving AEW and returning home to WWE. But what do you think? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'd absolutely love to hear from you. Then like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Lots of love. Cheers.